Hi everyone, so I'm continuing what I presented in my past few videos related to psychological manipulation, abuse, and the spiritual toll of that abuse. I am not addressing the spiritual aspects right now because it's a complex concept, but first I want to address simply the earthly existence level of the abuse someone goes through when they are covertly manipulated by someone they trust, by a partner they trust. It could be a family they trust, it could be friends or social groups they are hanging out in. And when covert abuse is happening, you don't have concrete evidence of something wrong happening in your life, but in the interaction itself with the people who are intending to abuse you or betray you, some aspect of abuse is present in daily interactions, which when you are naive, when you are not aware that abuse is happening, you chalk out to something ordinary or something simpler happening with you. But as in one of my videos I've mentioned that people who actually go through covert abuse, they actually have a mountain of problems surrounding them, but it looks like a molehill. Whereas a person who is faking abuse, they make a small molehill into a mountain. And this thing people need to realize in legal systems, justice systems, because there are people who use the legal laws to manipulate a system into seeming as if something majorly abusive is going on in their life, who manipulate people into makes someone seem like a abuser when that person is actually not a abuser, or if manipulation were not present in their life at a degree at which it is going on, they would generally have a normal life. Because this is what I was trying to explain in my previous video, though I couldn't get towards this explanation. But if I am a highly attuned individual where I telepathically or subconsciously understand something wrong is happening in my life, like how Giselle, when she eventually slowly figured out that this abuse was happening to her, someone definitely helped her in figuring this out, I'm sure, or multiple people helped her out in figuring this out. But before she could figure it out, it's not that she was not subconsciously aware something wrong was going on in her marriage. In fact, it is very likely possible that in her marriage, she was likely also diagnosed with some personality disorders, or her husband would possibly complain to other people that his wife is irrational or a nagging wife. These are all the traits when women are getting abused covertly, and even men. I'm not saying that only women get through this, but women, children, men, when covertly something is happening where partner or a friend or someone you know is drugging you and then using your body parts for some purpose that is an illegal purpose, or spiritually something wrong, or they are using your body for recording your body sexually, or they are inserting something in your body and creating images, nasty images about you. All these things can happen to anyone when they trust someone and they are sleeping and they don't know what is happening in their own homes to them, or they are sleeping at a friend's place and they don't know what a friend is doing to them. Because to them, they are trusting people, so all those people that they are trusting, they don't have a twisted mind, so they are not thinking that something nasty is going on. But even if you don't think anything nasty is going on, but if actually something terrible is going on with you, there is a repercussion of that something terrible going on with you. That repercussion which will arise in the interactions which you will have with that person. You might be cranky with that person, you might be upset with that person, you might verbally say something awful to that person, because your subconscious and your higher soul knows that something really evil is going on. Because it is evil if someone is drugging you and doing some things to you just because you are not consciously aware of it, or just because they are, some of these people like Giselle Pellicot's husband, he is thinking that just because he's drugging her, just because he's giving all these, he was giving instruction to these men that have a warm hand, or have when you're having a sexual interaction with her, do it this way, because he wanted to make it as if a very comfortable experience for her, so that she doesn't wake up, so that his crime doesn't get found out. And he did want some clean sex to happen so that he doesn't get sexual transmitted diseases and things like that. But while he is doing all these things, which are superficially apparently a very polite thing to do, very careful thing to do, but realistically speaking, why is he also doing it? So that they don't get any diseases, so that the proof is not left in the home that something wrong was happening, the proof is not left in her body that something is happening to her. But just because you eliminate certain set of proofs, does it mean that crime didn't happen, or does it mean that a violation of her body and her spirit and her a person as and her essence as a woman hasn't happened? Because it is a violation, it is a great sin that has been committed against her, and a great sin that has been actually spiritually, it is a much more higher spiritual level crime that was done to her by all these men who had a chance to do a better thing, who had a chance to wake up that when they are taking also all these steps, every time you're clinically doing something, logically doing some step, at that time you are not in the throes of passion, because there are some rapes that can be a throes of passion like rape, but this is a coldly calculating, deliberately, step by step, very methodical way of raping someone. So at that time, when it is a coldly calculating thing, that person is a much more karmically and spiritually much more what the terminology I'm not getting, and I think my guides, I don't know why my guides don't want to talk about it, but karmically it is a greater crime, because when you are having a calm personality, God has actually blessed you with a personality which can calm down, and your ego can calm down, or your lust can calm down, or your need for sex can calm down, or your need for lusting after a woman can calm down, because when you're doing step by step harm against someone, calculating step by step what we will do to someone is instructing you step by step, do this to someone, those are all the moments of time, all the places where you had a chance to do something opposite to what you are doing, you had a chance to say no to what you are doing, you were actually having a personality type who could easily have said no to what you were ready and willing to do. But even though you had more choice, more agency, more time, more clarity of thought, more of a lot of things, a person who is momentarily angry, instantly egotistically responding to something, that person doesn't have a choice. When I am emotional, when I am emotionally triggered, when I am emotionally saying something, that time you have an emotional investment in the relationship, emotional expectation out of a relationship, and that emotional expectation not being fulfilled by a partner sometimes can lead to some men having a bad sex or a rape like assault like sex with their partner when they are not they are in that throes of the passionate thing that they are doing with the partner. But this was exactly the opposite of it. So, and this kind of rape also needs to be considered, because this is a much more heinous rape, this is a much more toxic way of dehumanizing someone, and this is a much more toxic thing, because these kind of rapes can get hidden in the guise of the victim getting maligned as a person with a problem. Like this woman, if you looked at Giselle Pelicot, some of the stories, she was for 10 years thinking she's having memory loss problem. She was thinking maybe she has Alzheimer's or something developing in the body. She could very well have thought when she was having cranky episodes, because if someone is violating you sexually, and 200 hours per year of sexual violation was likely happening to her, based on just a rough mathematical calculation of if this 20,000 hours of video has been recorded in 10-year time span, at least 200 hours of violation was going on with her. So imagine a major chunk of your life you are just sleeping and someone is doing something to your body. How cruel is it? You don't know what is going on with your body, but does your spirit know? Does your soul know? Does God know? Does universe know something wrong is happening here? Have you created something in the universe that shouldn't have been created simply because you had a better choice, you had a better life path you could have chosen to take, but you didn't take that better life path choice. All of these men had, and multiple times, not just they had 200 hours of times and more possibly, because these 200 hours are recordings of Giselle Pellicot's husband's crime, but not of possibly all the crimes that the other men who have been detected to do something to her have been doing to her, and possibly potentially other women associated with them, anyone who has come in contact with them. And when you lead a long life on earth, when you have led a life of 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 70 years on earth, that many hours of life you have spent on earth, that many hours of time you had to make a better choice, do a better thing, become more aligned with God's way of living, become attuned to what is a fair way of living, what is the reason for your real reason for your existence on earth as a human being, with a certain potential, with certain gifts, with certain qualities, with certain personality types, and also certain vices, because each of those vices were places where you had come up with a soul plan that if you have a vice, you will have a wife, or you will have a girlfriend, you will have an ex-partner, you will have a mother, you will have a sister, you will have a brother, you will have a friend who will come into your life to check you into not steeping yourself into that vice, not giving overt importance to that vice, and help you in trying to turn you towards a better way of living. That is the reason why you have people in your life who are telling you do not do this, or when you are doing this it is hurtful to me, or a girlfriend comes up who is having a fight with you about something that is uncomfortable for her. But if you do not, and which is what was the reason why when I said that there was a higher purpose for me being present in all those men's lives, all those women's lives who have betrayed me, who have done harm to me, the reason why I was presented to them as an easy victim, or as a person who they could easily manipulate, or as a person who they thought they are not manipulating simply because they've given me a partial truth. Like when someone says I like you and doesn't say I love you, he can think that just because he didn't say I love you, he has not violated a trust between us. But you are still violating a trust between two human beings when someone likes you, and as a result of their liking you, their loving you, they are trusting you to do the right thing, to be the right person for them, but you couldn't be that for them. Same way, if someone doesn't say they love you, like I don't say I love you to my friends. Very rare people I have said that, very rarely. And because I'm Indian, and because I was raised in a family where a lot of emotional neglect was there, it's not very easy for me to say I love you to many people. And so when I haven't said I love you to many people, even then I still had some loving feelings towards them. That's why I'm trusting in them enough to hang out with them, to spend time with them, to give my time and energy and thoughts and care towards any of the people. I have invested whatever I have invested in emotionally, physically, by physical presence, by acquiescing to their requests that they are making when they say come and hang out at my place. But at that time, again, if you were truly a good friend, if you really needed a egg for egg donation purposes because you were infertile or something, couldn't you have asked that gracefully to a person than take something from them by violating their trust and violating their body? Did they have a easier route to take the egg if they really needed an egg for some biological purposes? Yes, the worst thing would be I would say no to it. But why should their ego take precedence over something that God has gifted me with? If you do not have an egg and I have an egg, there is a higher purpose to why God has told you not to right now. Your body is not ready to produce a egg that will be healthy to give you a kid that will be healthy for your future. Same way with some man who has a sperm, whose sperm you're taking illegally from them. Again, there is a reason why you shouldn't be taking that, why it is a violation, because that is also a sexual sin. Even though God 2000 years back, when people have written about what Jesus Christ was teaching or other religions are teaching, even though none of those religions talked about it in a great expansive manner, it was actually spoken about in a covert manner in Hinduism, in Shiv Puran. and I will discuss Shiv Puran later because I do not have complete insights about Shiv Puran. I have to think a little bit deeply also, or connect a little bit more to Shiv God to understand all the elements related to Shiv Puran's story. But I will say this, there was one moment in time when the gods found out that Shiva should mate with Parvati, otherwise creation will end, or some such thing they found out. So they wanted Shiv to marry Parvati. But at that time, people did it, and the god of desire wanted to create desire in Shiv so that he would mate with his wife. But it was an inappropriate time for him to mate with his wife, because Shiv had lived a long life. This was the second reincarnation of his wife. So in the second reincarnation, hundreds of years had now passed. So Shiv was a hundreds of year old soul, whereas Parvati was a young soul. So it is a very creepy pedophilic thing if a 400-year, I don't know what was Shiva's age at that time, but let's assume he was a 400-500-year-old man, whereas Parvati was only a 20-year-old woman. So it's a very pedophilic thing if Parvati is a 20-year-old woman, is being Shiva is being told by the god of desire to mate with her. So at that time he burnt away the god of desire, because that is the desire that leads to sin, the desire of a man who wants to covet a woman who is inappropriate in age to mate with him. That is all. That is the also one part of sin. Sin has many parts, and sin will show up in your life as many parts. For a woman also the same thing. Sin can show up like that, where a much older woman is being enticed by the devil or enticed by the god of desire to lean into the basest form of desire. But the highest form of desire is not that, and it's also a basest form of desire if, when God has deemed that you should be infertile for some reason, you do not understand the higher purpose of why you chose a life to have some either temporary phase of infertility or a permanent phase of infertility. There is always a higher purpose to that infertility as well. But if you do not connect to your higher purpose, you sort out or you seek the measures that can lead to some temporary easy solution has been found out by humanity, which is the easy solution of in vitro fertilization or surrogacy or some other different now all the crueler forms that I'm describing here. These are all the crueler distorted versions of that infertility solution only, where out of shame, out of regret, out of guilt, out of vengeance, out of envy, whatever it is the reason that people have, they are manipulating others to take something from another which the other they know will not willingly possibly give to them. Or if in order to get it from them, they feel they will have to pay a lot of money, and to them that is an unfair thing. But why should it be an unfair thing? What if you are considering it an unfair thing, but the person, if you have taken someone's egg and raising their kids, that kid has that person's good personality, has that person's, if that person is a good soul, that kid could have a potentially good personality, that you are now getting the advantage of a good soul taking care of you in your old age. You would have that benefit. So if you had given your friend or someone whom you have illegally extracted eggs from, if you've given them the right appropriate, there is a reason why legal systems have created a amount of money to be given to a surrogate mother or to be given to a sperm of or egg donor, because at that point of time, even if you have taken something from them, if you give the right value to them, that could have potentially helped them in some way. Because the times when some of these people have taken money from have taken egg from me or used my body for using it as an experiment towards sex, those are also the same time points on in life when I did have actually financial distress. So your need and my need would have matched, and if you had adequately paid me fairly for that, maybe you would have also got that egg very easily from me possibly. Or if not me, if there was another woman who was in much more financial distress than me, you could have found out that financially distressed women to donate a egg to you which would have helped that women out as well. So when you take something, unwillingly from someone, you have opened a path of the devil only, because the better routed paths would have taken you to a better karmic and spiritual journey, where you could have helped out someone instead of taking advantage of someone, instead of ruining the life of someone, instead of bringing a kind of manipulation and betrayal in the path of someone whose karmic consequences now you will have to face in this life or next life, or in a past life you are already facing it, because everything according to the universe happens in the same now moment. And there's a lot of other things, like, because I don't understand these concepts too deeply, I can't explain it, but understand that you cannot get away from the consequence of something that you have done coldly, calculatingly, deliberately, manipulatively, just for the sake of attaining something, because you couldn't bear that someone else has something that you don't have. Because the reason why someone could have been infertile is because maybe where they are living, they have to move from that area where they are living. That is the lesson they had to learn, that they were, because some of these people, they are all biochemistry students, they are all biology students, they are all, some are doctors, some are healthcare providers, some are law makers, some are involved in the law related activity, some are involved in the finance related activity. So all of their highest karmic path, if they had chosen a better route, would have taken them into working in their fields of work. Like if they have infertility and they have some shame related to infertility, and they are working in finance related to something, there is a connection. I don't know, because for those people, what is their karmic path, I can't say, or the better elevated spiritual path, because they have closed so many doors. Now it is difficult for me to say for that person what was a better path for that person, because they've closed multiple doors. And in fact, those people who have closed multiple doors and multiple chances, where God has given them hundreds of chances, they are also now on the path to most likely death, or most likely the kind of suffering I don't even want to imagine. But that is the only path they have left for a while for them to go through and traverse through. But those people who still are in that 50-50 path, who still can turn their life, who still can change in their life, for them I am saying, when some opportunity comes for you, even if for 10 times you have been really cruel towards someone, really unconscious about how your choices are harming someone, unable to understand when someone is telling you openly, verbally, that what you are doing is harming me, understand that when you harm another soul deliberately, when that soul has expressly expressed that this is a harmful thing, and you still ignore it, you are harming yourself as well, and at a greater degree. Because every action, that Newton's law of every action having an equal and opposite reaction, the equal reaction is, if you have given X harm, you will also invariably have X harm in your life. But the opposite reaction is that if that X harm pushed someone over the edge, you have to feel the brunt of the thing that you pushed someone over. And you never know, for you it would have been like, oh, I am just taking an egg. But no, you may not have been just taking an egg. That egg could have been something, that child that you have taken could have had a better life with me possibly, and there was a life purpose of that child and me that was meant to unfold, but that didn't unfold because you took away that route and that path. That door couldn't open because you closed that door that was not meant to be closed. And God gave you that opportunity to do that because God was testing you. God was not testing me. That door that you closed will open again in the future for me in some other way. But God has now closed a door for you, that door that you had a chance of not doing something, because you were coldly calculating, planning, right? There were 5-10 opportunities these people used to drug me again and again and again, while they were testing that drug or seeing how much I trust them and whatever else they were analyzing about me. Each step they took towards that was the step God was testing them. Each of those steps could have stopped them from doing something that has a future consequence that will unfold. Equal and opposite reaction will unfold in their life. that they can't save themselves from it if they continuously kept doing very coldly, calculatingly mistakes about something. But whatever is there, God knows what their intention is in their heart. God knows what was going on, even if I didn't know what was going on. And it is only because of God that I am eventually finding out. Once I started connecting, I was not a very spiritual person, I was not a very God minded person also. When I was younger, at a younger phase of my life, I was a very like many human beings, I was very superficially attached to God, that praying to God once a month or once a year. So I was not a highly spiritual or religious person when I was younger, when I was in my 20s or 30s. But the moment I started connecting to God, that is the moment when God started waking me up to what has been going on behind my back. I had observed everything that was going on. The only thing is, every time something wrong was happening or something suspicious was going on, I attributed it to something normal or something abnormal, but of a molehill degree of abnormality, or a tip of the iceberg degree of abnormality, when actually what was happening, what I perceived as a iceberg tip, like it was this much amount of problem that was happening, that I'm oversleeping, or my friend is just being particular when she's not allowing me to cook in her home. But later on I'm realizing she was cooking something, there was something suspicious possibly lying in the table that would have shown me, if I wasn't that observational, so I didn't observe what was going on in the table where they were cooking. But maybe they had put something in my plate and something in my food that I didn't know they were putting in my food. So that's why when they were cooking, they didn't allow me to cook. When they were cleaning, they were like, no, go away and sit and rest, you came from work, you are tired. And later now I'm realizing that instead they had I didn't used to work every weekend, I used to work alternate weekends. So they had very well a choice of asking me to come only every alternate weekend, because they were not that great friends. There were 5-6 years of my life in Utah that I knew these friends, where I didn't have any friends, I didn't have any company, I didn't have any social connection who came and asked me, how are you doing? But the year when they knew that something, they had some purpose that they were trying to manipulate behind the scenes, that is the year suddenly they started asking for me to go and hang out with them. Something they knew behind my back that I didn't know, which caused them to continuously now seek my company, ask me to come to their homes regularly. And earlier, when I said I can only come on the weekends when I don't have work, because it was easier for me, right? That is a weekend when I'm resting, I am getting 10-12 hours of good rest, and then I am driving, so it's easier, it's less risky. But despite that, I continued to drive to their place. And there was one day, invariably, again a set of circumstances happened where, both because of what they were doing and because of what I was doing, both of which led to some tampering of my vehicle, which led to my another vehicle accident, when I was going to these friends' places whom I was trusting. And that day maybe they were meant to do even something worse than what they had already planned, I don't know. But that was the day when I, again, because of a major accident, I finally realized that why am I continuously going to their homes again and again, driving these long distances, going to someone and risking my life, when that is the day then I stopped hanging out that often at their place. But until that accident stopped me from hanging out with them for a longer hours. There were many days when I have hung out with them, there were many days when they have drugged me. It's just that now I'm realizing that I was getting drugged because I was naive, I was trusting. And now I'm realizing only because of guidance from God, not because I have any human proof. And the human proof can be gathered. It is not that human proof can't be gathered. Any woman who is suspicious that her partner might have drugged her, or her family might have drugged her, for women God has given a very powerful tool to understand whether they were raped outside of a rape kit. That evidence, how that evidence will be gathered now from that woman, I don't know. All I know is enough scientific, and it is something possibly in the future some women will be able to get justice out of it. But those women who were raped, who were possibly also pregnant temporarily, but they lost their child in their body, every woman who is pregnant, current research has shown this, that if you are pregnant and you have given birth to a child, the DNA of the child is left in a woman's body when she has given birth to a child, and her woman's DNA also will be there in the child's body. So a DNA analysis, how that DNA analysis can be done, whether any tests have been created to do research work on this and figure out how to prove someone is someone's child, biological child. Just not out of, because if you can't go and get DNA evidence from the child itself, you can still, if that child's DNA is still present in your body, can do I have a proof without seeking that child's DNA first to know that I could have given birth to a child? If there is a test that is created like that, because that much tests have already been done which has shown that a woman who has been pregnant in the past, she could still have DNA of her children that she gave birth to. So if I'm saying, or if God has told me that you could possibly have been pregnant, like how I mentioned in the previous video, I'm not talking rubbish. It's just that to find that proof, it will take me time, but that proof also exists in my body itself. So but where it exists in my body, I don't know, because I have not studied the scientific literature on this, whether a DNA test kit has been created to determine this in some way for a woman who wants to seek justice about, she has been manipulated by people who didn't tell her that she is pregnant. At least that much proof I will have. It will not be a woo-woo thing or a false thing or something I'm creating out of thin air. It would be a real materialistic evidence. And obviously, if the child survived, if the child has died, this proof is important to be extracted from a woman's DNA, if the DNA of that child that has died is still existing in her body. But if a child has survived, from where will that evidence come from? If the child has survived, the evidence obviously is present inside that child. You match a DNA, you know that child is your child, 50% of your DNA will be there. For surrogate mothers also, the DNA of the child will be there in the surrogate mother. If someone has been abused for surrogacy and their children were taken away from them, they were not even knowing that they were being used as a surrogate. Again, that DNA will be there in the form of, if any placental remains were there in the woman's body, from the placental remains only you can determine if the I believe that from the placenta you can find it out. Whether anyone has researched this work, I don't know, but this is the next direction. Women who want justice for any rape they had in the past, and if that rape has left some DNA evidence in their body in the form of a child that died, a pregnancy that they didn't even know they were possibly pregnant, but their body shows that maybe pregnancy has happened. Because if you look at my body, I have the voluptuous body of a woman who has given birth. And in Utah, because Utah is a state where a lot of births happen, and sometimes I used to meet people who were always surprised that you never gave birth to any child. And at that time, I didn't know I had given birth to any child. I didn't know I had any pregnancies in the past. I didn't click that way. My body size and the way I look indicates that I could have given birth to a child. In fact, I also had bladder loss related things happening to me. That is a secondary indicator that I could have potentially given birth to a child vaginally. It's just that I do not have any memory of giving birth to any children. I do not have any memory of having sex with any man. I do not have any memory of ever giving permission to any man or any other human being to insert any fertilized eggs or fertilized egg and sperm in my body. That memory I do not have, but that memory can be wiped away with medications, can be wiped away with hypnosis, can be also wiped away if you had memory loss as a result of an accident. And I believe all these three have been done to me. At least two of these have been done to me. The proof of drugging is there. Enough times I have been extremely groggy, abnormally drowsy, abnormally sleepy, abnormally drugged, and sleeping for longer hours than normal, or when I was not even supposed to be depressed for any reason. And there were many things that were going good in my life for me to not be depressed, and despite that, or I was eating healthy food to not be malnourished or malnutrition. Despite that, if I was sleeping long hours, there's something suspicious. And I was when you are also drugged by memory wiping drugs, you will understand that there are 2-3 types of drugging related things I have mentioned, right? There are certain drugs that will give you high effect of clairvoyance like dreams. There are certain drugs that will also the one which wipes your memory out, that kind of drug will actually give you no dreams at all. And that day when I suspect that I could have given birth to a child and I don't even know I gave birth because I was drugged, and this man did that to me, he likely gave me that drug that wipes away the memory, because that over 24 hours of sleep that I had, in those over 24 hours of sleep I had absolutely zero dreams, or it was a very abnormal sleep for me, because most of the time when I sleep, I have a sleep pattern where I do dream about things, I do have some. It was a different sleep, that is all I can say. It was not the same level sleep, and it was very, very unusual. I will also there was another thing I was thinking about when I was watching my previous video again, to write the edits that I usually write in my description section, but I'm forgetting it right now. I don't know why I'm forgetting it. Maybe it's not relevant. But understand this, that child itself is a biological evidence of the fact that someone did some illegal activities with me, or activities that I don't know happened with me because they had some malicious intentions and motives. And imagine the years of life we could have had together as a parent child that I didn't get to have, simply because someone's ego was not in check, simply because someone had the pride to want to take revenge on a partner who doesn't want to have sex. Because so what, I don't want to have sex, there are 30 other women, 40 other women, 100 other women who are ready to have sex with this guy. So if there are so many women who are ready to have sex with you, why do you have to have this focused attention on someone who has refused to have sex with you? Why should your ego, why has God created so many other potential partners for you? Why do you have to insert your egg or DNA or sperm into anyone who doesn't want to consensually have sex with you? Or if someone had consensual sex with you, but you do not want to take care of that child, is that woman, I never asked that guy for any financial help all the years when I was dating him. Why would I ask him help for any other thing? That is also something he could have considered. Maybe I would never have even asked, like, why, I would not have even, I'm such a dumb person, or such a stupid person. I would have possibly decided that this is God's grace, I do not care about you, I just want to I wanted to have a child, and here it is, there is a child that I have in my life, I'll raise that child, and that's that. I would not have even thought about seeking justice, that is the whole problem, that I am just a kind of person who didn't want to seek justice for many, many years. For many, many things I have not sought justice. I have let go of getting justice for many things that were done unfairly, for which legally also I could get justice. I kept saying no, because why? Because I just wanted to have an ordinary life, simple life. But even though I wanted to have ordinary life, simple life, these people somehow decided that that is not enough for them. They don't want an ordinary life. They want it is the repercussion of them seeking this thrill of, getting away with abusing someone, getting away with manipulating someone, using their high IQ to dupe someone dumb like me. These are all the kind of, game playing and toxic thoughts. These people who have done all these things, they had these kind of toxic patterns, and these toxic words they have themselves directly used in front of me, or shown it in a indirect way, that they consider me to be dumb, they consider themselves to be more beautiful, they consider themselves to be better in some way, which I didn't at that point ever have any issue with them being better than me intellectually, sexually, beautiful looks wise, ability to entice a man wise, ability to attract a woman wise. Never ever have I resented them for the gifts that they have. So I didn't understand why they had to resent me for such a simple thing as having the capacity to uh, produce eggs while they can't produce an egg, or having the capacity and the law supports a women saying no in those countries when they say that they do not want to have sex. And now globally people have to also have a law not only about women's rights or people's right to say no to having sex. Now it should be a law also for a woman to say no to being abused and used as a chattel for biologically giving a surrogacy to a child if they don't want it, or if they did want that child, they should have the right to the child, not the person. Like if I have given God has given me the gift of a child being born out of a horrible thing that happened to me, but the child was born to me. If I knew that child was born to me, wouldn't I have raised that child? Maybe I would have raised. How do you know whether I would have raised or not raised the child when you didn't even give me the choice to decide on that? And then if I have adopted, given the child up for adoption also at that point of time, let's say I was not wanting to have the child, finding out that some deception was involved, and at that point I gave up the child for adoption. At that time also there are so many adoptive parents who are caring enough to keep in touch with the biological parent. So what if a co-parenting strategy could have been involved in that raising of the child, or occasional once a year or once in 10 years I go and visit the child knowing that there is a biological child in the world, or occasionally I could have talked with the child over the phone. All of these things could have happened and manifested. That was the better route that would have manifested for any child who was my biological child, whose permission you have, whose eggs you might have taken, whose body you might have used for creating a child. And all these pathways you have closed by, and you have, in closing these pathways, you have created now a karma, a bad karma of something that shouldn't have been created. And these are the things for me. Maybe it is too late to get justice, but there are many other women and men and children who need the right justice. And in one of the videos that I posted in my previous videos link, that girl, only when she was her boyfriend had challenged that he is the father of the baby they are raising, and that, I think her boyfriend or husband, whoever is it, that partner now challenged it, and the DNA said that he's not the father. And the girl is confused. If you are not the father, then who is the father? Why? Because most likely, I'm not saying that that is the likely, that is what has actually happened to her, but because some people could be lying also, but the way her why response came, then who is the father, that kind of questioning came, shows that most likely she is really clueless about who is the father. Which can, many people will not trust women, because many people think women are the Jezebel type or the manipulative type, but God has created those women on earth who are not the manipulative type, who are the innocent type, who are souls who do not lie, or they don't use lies to get away with crimes. They're not that personality type. Those people do exist on earth. So if she is one of those women, she is telling the truth that she's genuinely confused about who is the biological father, because in her memory she has only slept with this man. And if she doesn't know who is the father of the child now, and she's genuinely puzzled, why is she puzzled? She could have been date raped, she could have been given drugs in a friend's party, that she also like me. That is why I'm narrating all these foolish incidents of my life, of the trusting incidents of my life, because what I have done, are other women not doing that, are other men not doing that, that they are trusting a friend to, and they have gone with the friend to celebrate a birthday party, but the friend has drugged them, or they have gone to someone's home to celebrate a Christmas party, and they have been drugged by them. They simply thought they were sleepy, or they were slightly drunk, and they have passed out, when in fact while they were passed out, their sperm were taken, their eggs were taken, their fertilized egg was inserted in their body. and they have no clue, or someone slept with them and they have no clue, like how with Giselle it has happened. And at that time, if someone had drugged her, slept with her, she has no clue. Is she genuinely saying the truth that she doesn't know who could be her child's biological father? Someone in her family also could have done it, who someone with illicit thoughts about sex could have done it. Someone in her friendship circle could have done it. Someone also in a random bar you have gone to drink with friends, at that time you have done it. In How I Met Your Mother, there is that incidence of Ted Mosby, where there's a pineapple girl incidence, and in that storyline they never reveal who that girl is, because that is how also, if someone has inserted some drugs in your he doesn't even, at least in the show they didn't show the face of the girl. Now is it possible that he doesn't even remember the face of the girl as well? And if you don't remember the face of a person, if you have someone has put that drug into your drinks, so even if you know you have slept with someone, you may not remember their face, because some drugs were put in your drinks to wipe out your memory, or someone could have even done hypnosis to wipe out your memory of your sleeping with them. And then later, 10 years later, let's say that woman has now, that in that story it seemed like a very easy thing that happened in his life, but let's say that woman had some nefarious intent, that she had actually raped him, but she wants to say in the future that this guy has raped me. Can at that time, how will courts determine whether rape has happened? Because most of the time, if the woman is the one who gets raped and that man is the one who, but how will you determine? You can determine it with the fact that the one who was raped or one who was traumatized, they will have a very cringy reaction to the person who has raped them. Like if in front of them the rapist comes up someday, even if I do not know that I was raped by someone, and I'm not talking about just the legally defined rapes, because in Giselle's case, some people can say that if she doesn't remember, it cannot be rape, or if she was given some drugs where no scratching and injury has happened to her body, it may not be rape. People can say all that kind of rubbish also. That is the justification people use when they have drugged someone to sleep with someone, given some drugs to ease the sexual activity with them, to say that that is not rape. But it is still an assault in a woman's body, it is still an abuse of a woman's body, it is still a violation, spiritual and physical violation of someone, and a spiritual and emotional violation whose repercussion that women will be feeling subconsciously all the time, until that right resolution of that has happened. A right resolution which needs and seeks justice from the justice system in the present or future. Then only true justice happens to a person like Giselle. If Giselle's husband getting just 10 years of imprisonment, or some of the violators getting whatever they got as a result of the thing they have done, that is not enough justice if the laws don't change to address not just problem of Giselle, but all the women who are after Giselle, before Giselle, who have gone through same thing, similar thing, much more worse things than what she has gone through. So this thing people have to understand, otherwise you will keep letting go of those criminals who should not be allowed to let go, who did deserve some repercussion or karmic punishment or real life punishment, in order to wake up to the fact that what you're doing is a huge violation of what you have done on earth. It is a violation of the law related to your existence on earth. For some of these people, those people who are experiencing forest fires, natural calamities, many people who died in natural calamities or are in war zones, many of those people don't realize it, but some of those people who are died, who are dying, who are suffering through great suffering of many years in their life, while some are innocent victims, some of them are not innocent victims. They did something spiritually violating to some human beings, as a result of which they are going through very painful experiences in their life, or because if there is enough of violations that they have done on earth, it also causes them to die, because now that spirit cannot enter earthly life again as a human again. Your purpose of being a human on earth has been served if you didn't learn all the lessons that you had to be learning. This is a spiritual thing I'm talking about. and maybe I'll discuss it in another video. But let's come back to the legal consequences. In the legal consequence of this woman who doesn't know who the child's father is, if the child's father has raped her, if the child's father has abused her, assaulted her, will any man come up and tell her that he did that? Or if via suspicious activities, like how the Julia girl is trying to figure out what was happening in her past, something very suspicious and crime related things have happened in her past, and that's why I said her life is likely in danger. But like that, if something, and people don't understand, people might scoff at what I am saying, but understand this is a criminals whose criminal activities they've got away with for 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, or a lot of money is at stake for their criminal activity. Those level criminals where money is at stake or many years of crime has been buried under the radar, those people are the most highly dangerous criminals, because for them, if the truth comes out, there might be social shame, there might be a lot of legal repercussions, there might be something they have to pay out in their life that they are not willing to pay out. So for them, killing a person who is finding their truth is more easier thing to do. And that's why, and a girl who is not supported by her parents or anyone in social life, is that person more likely to be killed or more likely to survive? A person like that, if Julia survives, she's going to survive because it's her time to survive. But if Julia is meant to be a case of what happens to women who are unsupported, then it is likely that she can also potentially die as well, if people involved in her backstory. And also, now that I'm talking about it, my life is also an equal threat, but my life has been at that equal Julia level threat only for a while, related to some of the topics I'm discussing here, and also related to many things I'm not yet ready to discuss. And all of these have put my life at threat as well. That's why I'm already in the boat of life being at threat, so I might as well talk about that, which is also something God knows was going to happen to me. And that's why I'm the spokesperson of all the things that are going wrong in some of these women, men and children's life. I'll come to the men and children next. First is those women who have genuinely no clue who raped them, who date raped them, who drugged them, why they were drugged or date raped, and then a child was born. And there will be women like me who don't know that a child exists in the world who is biologically related to them. There will also be women like her who does have her biological child with her but doesn't know who's the biological father. There was another woman whose son, she knew that 5-6 men were the men she might have slept with. It is possible that, she has a past where she was dating a lot of people, or some man might have abused her and pimped her out to different men, or she was in very financial distressful conditions that she sought this path of sleeping with men. Whatever it was that led to her sleeping with multiple men, that son she had, he grew up without a father and he wants to know who his father is, and multiple DNA tests have been done and his father has not been detected. Now he's heartbroken. Many people are vilifying in the comments of that paternity courts comment section, video section, that they're vilifying and thinking that the woman is a slut, and which is also what a woman gets ascribed to. But is Jill Palikot a slut? Did she actually consciously want to sleep with 72 men? She didn't want to sleep with any man, or only man she wanted to sleep with was her husband, and that's it. But even though she wanted to only sleep with one partner, even though I didn't want to sleep with any partner at all for a while when I was in my 20s and 30s, despite that, if men have taken my eggs to create a baby or used my body to create a baby, have you done a violation of what I wasn't ready for at that point of time in my life? You have done a violation of something I was not ready for. I was not ready to be a parent. I knew I was not going to be a mature parent, or some other reasons were stopping me from becoming a parent. Even if at one of those time points I did want to become a parent, you took away that right from me to become a parent by taking the child away without even notifying me that. And yes, people can laugh at me that how didn't you know that you were pregnant during that time? I don't care, you can laugh, but I did have periods. I had continuous periods, maybe maximum one. There was only one time point in my life, I have completely blanked out which year of my life was the year when for 2 months I didn't have periods. There's only 1 year of my life I experienced that phase where for 2 months I didn't have periods, and I was wondering why am I not having periods, and I couldn't figure out. I didn't have any sexual contact with any man at that time. Then also I couldn't figure out why didn't I have periods during those 2 months. But other than that, there is entire history of my life when I have had periods. As far as I could tell, I always had continuous periods in my life. And that's why I didn't know when I was pregnant that there was a pregnancy going on in my body, and only later on in hindsight I'm figuring out that I could have had pregnancies, and actually multiple pregnancies. There are another instance also which had shown some symptoms of pregnancies via my uterine muscles lack of activity related problems that crops up in a woman when she is pregnant or after she has delivered vaginally. Your vaginal muscles are contracting very differently, uterine muscles are contracting slightly differently, and all of those problems also showed up in my body. But because I had no clue or no reason to suspect that I should have been pregnant, and because if I was pregnant my memory loss happened or some other memory wipeout happened, because of whatever reason, even though my body was showing indicators of pregnancy, I consciously, it didn't click to me until in recent years when I was doing meditation, when I was connecting to God, when I was doing spiritual practices, that I finally understood that I could have had multiple pregnancies. And I would like to test that out, find those children, get connected with those children, but I can't get connected where if the children know that I am their mother and there is some barrier for them connecting to me. I can't get connected if the children don't even know that their biological mother is someone else. I can't get connected if I do not have the right health to go and pursue all these things. And I also shouldn't possibly get connected if I don't know if I will survive through all the stages of life that I'm going through currently. And if I don't survive, just going and connecting to that child also might be more painful for that child. So because of all these reasons, I'm not investigated this. There are very genuine and some financial reasons are also there, that these things, to investigate it, to work on this, to pursue this needs I might have the guided steps on how to do it, but for me to practically do it, it will take me a lot of time, energy, resources that I currently do not have. I have only enough resources and enough energy has been given to me by God to create this video so that it will help, in case I die, it will help other people who are going through these similar situations. In case I survive also, if I manage to find my kids, I will again get busy with those kids. That's why also these videos might be getting created by me, because I will if I get busy in getting involved in their lives, because I would have loved, I had so much spare time in the entire 20-30 years of my life where if I had known I had a child, I would definitely have at least via phone connection kept in touch with them, via once a year visit or once in whatever visit permitted by those parents. I would have connected with those kids, because I love connecting with kids. I love it would have been a great pleasure to just understand that I had a kid somewhere in the world, even if I never raised that kid by myself, but if loved by the parents who adopted that kid, I would have loved to have stayed in connection with them. Even now I would love to do that. Whether it will open, that path will open, again depends on the karma those kids and their adoptive parents or foster parents want to create with me. Then only that path will open with those children. And then like me, there would be also very many dads, if their sperm was taken illegally to, if someone had a mischievous thing that they are going to take X person's sperm and insert it in Y person's body, so Y person doesn't know that her body was fertilized using someone else's sperm, because she never gave permission to it, some mischief maker did it to her. So that's why she is puzzled who is the dad of her child. And the ex person also doesn't know that in a party their sperms were taken and inserted in a woman. So at that time also the dad is also clueless. But if the dad finds out that he has a son in the world, and if he is also meaningfully looking to connect to a child, be responsible to a child, it is very well possible that someday in the future that it will benefit that dad also. But in order to understand that this thing has happened, do you have to also understand the do you understand why I'm talking about the psychology and the steps of how someone is betrayed in my videos? Because this is how only some psychopathic person, malintentioned person, criminally minded person, distorted personality, jealous personality, mischievous personality will do all these for them very harmless tricks, but it is actually a long term repercussion related thing when it has consequence of ruining someone's life. Like this woman, if her boyfriend now decides you cheated on me, and he doesn't know such kind of personalities exist in the world, and if he had a potential to be a good father to the child because he loved that woman, then that both the child and the woman's life can be impacted. I don't know if this guy is interested in, he has contested the paternity, means he wants to leave the relationship most probably. But there are dads who also find out, there are many other dads I have seen in videos who are crying, and in many of those videos the women have cheated and they knew they were cheating. But in some of those women's cases also, maybe they weren't cheating, maybe they were abused, maybe they were assaulted, maybe they were raped, maybe they were date raped, maybe they were raped and they didn't know they were raped. All these also need to be coming in consideration in a justice system's judgment against those women, or even social systems judgment against women. Because all those people who are maligning these women, thinking they are sluts, they sleep around with people, is not true. There are many women who do not want to sleep around, but their boyfriends abuse their body, or their husbands abuse their body, and they didn't even know it was going on with them. There are many women who trusted a man so much implicitly that 4-5 years they allowed that man to use their body for whatever nefarious reasons, but then they regretted that they allowed someone to pimp their body out, and they wanted to get out of it, so they got out of that prostitution trade or whatever their boyfriend had pimped them out for, or their father or some parent had pimped them out too. But afterwards, when they've got out of that trade, now God does allow people to atone for their sins. But if you completely keep assigning that these people have been sinful, is not the current truth of theirs. In the current life, they do want to have a normal life with their child, but at that time point, and if they had a normal life also, and if a man knew that he was not the biological father, but he took up the reins of being a father to the child, but later on the man wants to leave the relationship and he's accusing her, is he betraying that woman? Because maybe the man knew already before he married her that this child may not have been his, but he still married her because at that time point he was in love with her. But 4 years, 5 years, 10 years out of in a relationship, now he's not into that wife, or now he doesn't love that wife anymore, so that's why he wants to leave, but he wants a easy way out. So that also karmically creates a very bad thing, socially creates a very bad thing. Imagine now if the man knew that that child was not his, he's just manipulating the legal system to get out of a marriage. He wants to get out easily by playing the victim card, even though during the beginning of the marriage the woman had already told him that he is not the father, or he may not be the father, there could be potentially some other father involved as well in the relationship. Because all these things are necessary for the child to have a balanced perspective about the mom, for the court system to have the balanced perspective about mom, that not all women are manipulative. Sometimes men can also be manipulative and could be manipulating the system to get away with paying child support. Because if you married some woman and promised her that, and the reason why you were marrying her was because you knew the woman and a child were involved in the relationship, and you had known when you were marrying her that you would have to take care of a child, but now you want to get away from the financial responsibility by using the card that you are not the biological father, and by playing the victim, is that a really cruel thing to do to a woman whom you promised that you were going to take care of their child? This thing people have to also understand. There are also men who were cheated by the wife, who the wife hid the truth that he may not be the father. The father didn't know, But now that the father is emotionally invested in that child, there is no legal laws that I think currently addresses this fact when the father wants to still be invested in the child's life, or the father is such a good father that if he does indeed stay in the child's life, he may be a better quality parent than the parent who was cheating and was manipulating the man. So those parent and children's cases also need to be understood. Then there was another story where the woman, when she was speaking, she had a very manly voice. And I have also been guided about by universe only, that there are apparently some women on earth who biologically outside look like, and many stories like that have also come up in medical shows. You will see there are women in the world who have women's genital organs, like they have breasts and they have vagina, but they do not have uterus. This is a genetic anomaly that had happened to them. So internally they are not women who can have biological kids. Now those women, just because they do not have a uterus, and there are also other women who cannot have kids just because they do not have ovaries. Now those women who can't have kids because they don't have ovaries, they don't have uterus, those women want to hide that fact from the world. And this woman seemed like, to me, I don't want to give her case, it was also a family court case, but she seems like, in the court case, what has happened now, let me tell. In the court case clip that I saw, the woman is saying that the guy is the biological father of her daughter. And she is saying, when the judge asks, how did you sleep with the guy, she's saying that he invited me and he was her boss. So she's saying he invited me to massage him and blah blah blah, and that's how some sexual thing might have happened, transpired between them. Whereas the guy is saying that she came to his home for something and then she suggested so if he was her boss, he could have invited her, or she could have said, let's discuss this further in your home, because manipulative women can do that. They can say, let's discuss it in your home. So they went to the home to discuss the work related things, and at that time, if the man said, okay, I'm having a neck pain or body ache, she might have offered, like, let me massage you. This he didn't say, this is something I'm speculating, but the way he said it, she is the one who offered to massage me. So at that time, it is possible some women do that, and some women are very expert at doing that, in suggesting something helpful to help you out apparently. But if they are manipulative, she was not helping him just to help him massage him, but she also sexually had some sexual relationship with him. And at that point of time, she could have gathered his sperm and then used his sperm to same thing like how my friend has now extracted my egg to do something, and I believe she had done like that. She also has a body type where she giving birth to a biological child seems implausible to me. So I believe she has not only drugged someone to take their eggs, she has likely drugged some other guy also to take his sperm, and then she had given those samples to a place for in vitro fertilization and surrogacy related purposes. This is what I believe she might have done. Or she might have used a surrogate, paid to pay for the surrogate's costs. She might have given a institute some like to pay for the egg and the sperm. In exchange, she might have given my eggs and someone else's sperm as donation. So that place could have basically fraudulent papers saying that I'm donating my egg or someone else is donating their sperm, when we haven't actually donated our eggs and sperms. She has cheated us or defrauded us by in taking that from us by drugging us. So which is what I believe this court case's mother has done. And in that court case, I felt really bad for the child, because the child is, you can easily see that the child is not wanted by the father, not wanted by the mother. That woman is likely not her biological mother. And if she's not a biological, because understand, I told you this seems very harsh, but in some women's and men's cases, when they do not have the capacity to produce a child biologically, the reason why God has stopped them from producing a child biologically in that lifetime is because they were not meant to raise a child. They just don't have the emotional capacity also possibly to raise a child well. So because, or they have some greed or other intentions, malintentions present in their life, which will not lead to a good future generation. And God always wants our future generation to be a better quality generation than the past generation. So that is the reason why she is biologically maybe not having eggs, or biologically not having a uterus, or biologically she might have taken drugs to be like a woman, but she's actually a man. Whatever is her reason for being whatever she is, that is her journey with God that she had to do. But in that journey with God, she has got lost now, and because she has got lost, she has manipulated a man, and by sleeping with him and taking his sperm to biologically likely produce the child. Whether that man is the father of the child was not shown in that clip, but irrespective of whether he is the biological father of that child or some other man's sperm also she has taken in similar way, or a suspicious way, even worse and more suspicious way than this man. We don't know who is the biological father, but whoever is the biological father, understand this: some women have just produced a child so that they can then and produce a child using some rich person or well-to-do person's sperm, so that they want that rich and well-to-do person to fund their child's caretaking activities. Now these things also justice system needs to scrutinize, but scrutinize it well. And the problem right now with many court cases that I see online is that, and also the judgment people pass about those people just have a lack of clarity about who is lying and who's telling the truth. People don't understand who's the truth telling the truth in the relationship. People don't understand also the deeper reasons why what they are telling is the truth, and why something suspicious is going on in that child's life. In that child's life, I can guarantee tell you, if the guy is the father, maybe he will take some responsibility of the child, but he shouldn't just get the temporary responsibility of the child. I feel if he is a good father potential, he should get the 100% custody of the child. That woman shouldn't get the child's custody if she has used manipulative tactics to take that child, to birth that child itself, and created all kinds of false narratives about who is actually her father and mother. Second thing, why the woman shouldn't get the child's custody is because if you look at the child only, you can see that child is completely unloved. She is feeling the lack of love. She's feeling like, is there anyone in the world who loves me? That is how I felt that child was. All she was doing was feeling sad, but that is what I felt from her emotions. And this thing, judges need to start perceiving these things. Justice system needs to start perceiving the human angle of the people involved in such nasty and manipulative people's lives. How the people who do not care about a child, who just want to have a child to get money out of while raising the child, these kind of people, children are heavily neglected, heavily abused. They may not be neglected and abused like a drunken person hitting a child or verbally someone lashing out to a child, but they are very cold, calculating abusers. So their abuse level is very cold, calculating abuse, the kind of abuse whose trauma very few people can perceive easily, and very very hard to perceive the trauma you have when no one connects with you, no one loves you for you being a human, when someone is using you as a financial tool to get money out of someone or the other, or someone is using you as a financial way to get out of paying taxes. And these are the reasons why some women and some men utilize and manipulate a system to take care of a child. So these things about those men and women who are manipulating a system for just cruel reasons, financial reasons, not health aligned reasons that will balance a child out, those children should not be given custody of such parents as well, because not all abuse is about someone sexually abusing a child or physically abusing a child or verbally abusing a child. Many abuse is related to financial manipulation, financially cheating a child, and this child, if she continues living with the parent, she will have mild Stockholm syndrome, like distorted loyalty towards a parent who raised her. She might be feeling of course, if someone raises you, you will have some gratitude about them, you got a home, but she didn't. She's literally that child who didn't ask to be born. She's literally that child. Many people say that I didn't ask to be born, but the thing is, even then you were ready to be born, because your parents had mutual sex and parents were ready to have a child in their life. Many people at least have those kind of parents, but these are children whose parents have no clue. Like if she has taken sperm from this guy and I feel she's not the biological mother of this child. She may or may not be, but in some other women's case, definitely there are children out there in the world who may not be, the woman who's raising them may not be their biological mother. And if she has taken egg from someone else, sperm from someone else, manipulated both the egg donor and sperm donor to take the egg and sperm and use other techniques for getting biologically birthing a child, and pretending she is that child's biological mother, or pretending, if not pretending she's the biological mother, she's pretending like she's adopted the child or whatever they have done, but they are not doing justice to the way the child is being raised. Those children are having neglected childhoods. Those children are having many problems related to emotional connectivity, which they will not have if they were raised by their biological parents, or which they will not have if at least one biological parent was involved in their life, and if the biological parent has been found, if there is definite proof that something suspicious was going on, neglectful was going on with the parent who manipulated a system and defrauded a system to gain that child, I feel some new laws have to come in place for such people. Because I don't think it is fair that you have used someone else's body to get their children and raise their children pretending that it is your child. I know children are not my property. I agree that children are not my property, that if my eggs have been used to create a child in a lab and then given to someone else, it's not a property right thing that should be fought about, but it's about the emotional thing. Children are not a property, but children are a responsibility. If God has given me an egg to be fertilized, the reason why that egg was my egg and was that blessing was given for that egg to be fertilized or that sperm to be fertilized, is not because someone who is cruel and manipulative and evil, or because these people are embodiment of evil. That also people don't understand. Some of these people have chosen such a evil route in living. There is a spiritual consequence for what they have done, and that is why it is important now that, because there is a spiritual consequence, societal consequence, social consequence, and then if you are continuously raised by people who are narcissistic, who are manipulative, who are abusive, but covertly abusive, those children will end up with mental health disorders, because they know they are being manipulated, but now they have also love for that parent who raised them. They understand subconsciously that they are not loved by this parent, they are just being used by that parent for some nefarious or monetary purpose. They subconsciously know all these things are happening. I subconsciously know that my father does not love me. I subconsciously know, not just subconsciously, many conscious choices also he has made repeatedly in his life, and not just my father, everyone who I think is my family, I know they do not love me. None of the choices they have made in their life, throughout their life, had ever shown that they genuinely loved and cared for me. Very few people who have shown up in my life as family have genuinely taken those steps that show that they meaningfully care about me as a human. They meaningfully care about me when I am in genuine distress. Very few. And rest of them have just been superficially there, as if they were like created by the universe too. They were literally, I don't know what it was, but I know they do not love me, they do not care about me at a level. When you have genuine genetic connection with someone, or genuine emotional care is present in a relationship, the level of care that is available to a child in that relationship is vastly different from when a parent just simply uses a child as a tool. And it doesn't matter if you're a biological mother or father of the child, or if you're not a biological mother or father. It's about the level of care, genuine intent of care, versus the fakeness of care or manipulation of care. And even in those cases where the father has found out they are not the child's biological father, and they are assuming that the woman has cheated, it is possible that the woman has cheated, but I think those manipulative women who have used a man or trapped a man via to stay in a marriage via a child being born in the marriage, I feel some of those women are also those manipulative women who might have just pretended to be pregnant, because I've seen videos of pregnancy also where they are doing pregnancy reveal and everything, and I can very easily tell that the woman's belly is an artificial belly. Now if the man is not paying attention to his wife, or he's busy, always a busy workaholic, or goes on business trips, he's not observing that his wife is actually not pregnant. But I literally saw all these pregnancy gender reveal videos where there were a few women who I felt were not pregnant. They're pretending to be pregnant, and they are using someone else's eventually, and they know at that time that some other woman is pregnant. So like if I was pregnant, someone else knows I'm pregnant. They have used my, and they know when I am going to give birth also. Now they have taken that child and now raising that child, saying that is their child, when it is in fact not their child. And they just did it, they just pretended a pregnancy throughout their pregnancy with their partner. And because there are many women who do this also, I know some friends who genuinely do this, because during pregnancy months they go and visit and stay with their family, because their parents are wanting to basically want them to deliver in their homes, or their parents want to caretake the women. So like that, women go to their maika, that is what it is called in India. You go to your parents home for delivery. But when you go to your parents home for delivery, understand, some women, when they are doing that, or they are saying they need a break from the spouse during pregnancy time because the spouse is wanting to have sex with them, they don't want to have sex. There are genuine women who are pregnant who can't have sex, or who will have trouble having sex during pregnancy, and that's why they are instead of staying with a spouse who wants to have sex, they are staying away from the spouse. But this genuine reason used by genuinely pregnant women can also be used by someone who is manipulating a partner into thinking that they are pregnant, so that the partner will not leave them. Those people who are manipulating their partners can also pretend and fake a pregnancy, eat a lot of food to look fat, and then pretend that the belly is growing after a few more months, and then they can go and stay in some their parents' home during the last few months and then give birth, which is a problem now. Why? Because that child also, the wife is just manipulated the husband into staying in a marriage. That marriage is likely not a genuine marriage, and if the child is got via surrogacy or illegal adoption practices, then at that time that child will not be genetically connected neither to the father nor to the mother. The father, if they discover that the child is not biologically his, people never test the mother's DNA, but now this thing should be tested. You should test the mother's DNA also to determine whether a illegal adoption or a illegal surrogacy or other illegal stuff was involved in that child's life. Because if the child is legally supposed to be someone else's child, maybe that someone else would be a better parent than two fighting manipulative parents, where one is a toxic parent, one is a manipulative parent, or both are just wrong parents for wrong partners for each other, but they are staying in each other's life for the sake of the child, when it would serve all three people better for their highest soul good. It would serve them better if the marriage broke out and if the child was given back to the biological parents. Because this is another thing I was guided to, which is that in India or in globally, there are people who give birth to twins, but if the obstetrician didn't detect that there is a twin present when in the ultrasound, or obstetrician knows there is a twin, but obstetrician, gynecologist, whoever is involved in illegal child trade doesn't want the parent to know that they are giving birth to twins, they can hide that information easily. Because if you don't know how to read a medical report, will you know if your ultrasound is showing one baby or two babies? Most people will not know whether your ultrasound is showing one baby or two babies. So imagine if you earlier there were genuine reasons for people not understanding this, but nowadays enough newer techniques have come up that it is not that difficult to detect two kids via heartbeat and other things. And now if you have two kids but they never told you that you're giving birth to twins, or maybe you are giving birth to triplets, but you only two heartbeats were detected because triplets were uncommon previously, so they only told you that you are giving birth to twins. So in all those women's cases who are giving birth to multiple kids, now one of their kids can be given up for if the kid comes up, the people can traffic those children and give away those children to other people if nefarious people are involved in child sale related cases. Because I have seen newspaper articles, this was a guided thing by God. I didn't know about all these things happening in India, but I found stories in newspapers which talked about how girl child are sold for 50,000 rupees, boy child are sold for 1 lakh rupees. So a mother who's desperate, a wife who's desperate to hold on to a husband or a boyfriend, a girlfriend who's desperate to hold on to a boyfriend and doesn't want to break up, they can pretend to be pregnant and then buy a child from off the market. And but from where is that child coming? It is either coming from in vitro related steps, or it is coming from child kidnapping that is happening, where when a woman is giving birth, now because while giving birth you can be in real pain, when you are in real pain at that time, or you are passed out, and if in India most times dads are also not allowed inside the delivery room. So when dads are not allowed in the delivery room, no other family is allowed, or even if family is allowed but family is also involved in this nefarious activities, you gave birth to two kids, and maybe you are coming from a poverty stricken family and the family is greedy, they sold your child, didn't tell the woman that your child is being sold, and the child could have been easily sold away from you, you didn't even know. That can happen. Someone could be poverty stricken and they don't have the fees to pay for the obstetrician's fees, so even if they knew they were giving birth to a twin, they could have now given away one of the twins because they had financial distress and they sold off the twin to someone else. That could also happen. There could also be someone whose child was just stolen because the mother was passed out, no one was there while in the delivery room of the family, so they could have given birth to twins. They didn't know they were going to give birth to twins, but the clinic had already known actually that they were going to give birth to twins. They never told the biological parents that you are going to give birth to twins, and one child could have been just kidnapped without that family knowing only that they actually gave birth to twins. So all of these things can manifest in illegal child trade related activities, or activities where legally a child was given away, but the truth of the family having two child or a twin or a triplet was hidden from the family. And all of this is also important because now those children, while they have been given away for some financial reasons or stolen for some financial manipulation reasons, along with the financial manipulation and illegal child trade that is happening, if they've been given to a family where the family is highly abusive, sociopathic, manipulative, abusing the child, do you understand that child, if they have a twin brother sister living in some other family, they could have had a very beautiful childhood, been raised with siblings who would care for them, who would love them, with parents who would have cared and loved them if the parents knew that child was born to them, or if the child's parents also had some financial distress, but if the hospital had, instead of taking a child from them, given them a better route of paying, like how you have monthly EMI payments for your phone, can't you have monthly EMI payments for child birth related costs? Like if I pay, there are iPhones for 1,50,000 you're paying, can't you for your child C-section related things, usually 1 lakh, 2 lakh, whatever is the cost you're charging for the child, can't you, or for selling the child what you are getting, that money you can ask the parent to pay to you slowly over time also, right? So if you do that, a family doesn't have to sell their child, you give a monthly EMI payment plan to them, and the child now doesn't have to be away from the biological family and be raised in a family where no one loves it, or if people are loving it, it's only to use the child for monetary purpose, for manipulating someone and things, or worse things. And these are all important social system, justice system, legal system, medical system related, and also